if you're training your dogs how to walk in public, there is something that I started doing that has given me so much peace of mind to know that no matter what happens, I have control over my dogs and I'm not going to lose them if something scares them or they get frightened and they try to run off. So what I do is I always put my dogs in a harness that gives me more control over them and make sure we're not pulling on their neck as we're training. And I'm clipping 2 leashes to the harness. One is a normal standard leash that has traffic handles. So it has a handle that at the end that I can hold onto, and it has a padded traffic handle down closer to my dog. You can see me holding it right here so that I have better control over my puppy. But I'm also attaching a hands-free leash that goes around my waist and attaches to my dog. Now, hands-free leashes are not going to be for everybody. If your dog is really strong, or if you are really not strong, this is not something that you should be doing. You want to make sure that you are professionally looking into this, talking to the professionals to make sure you are okay to be doing this before you use a hands-free leash, because they are literally clipped around your waist. And if they bolt, if they run, if you cannot maintain your position with them moving, they could potentially pull you over and drag you. So you have to be physically fit to do it. And they have to be not strong enough to pull you over, even if you are physically fit enough to do it. So with that in mind, I really like using my hands-free leash. I am strong enough that even if I have both dogs attached to me, they cannot pull me over. They cannot move me. So I feel very comfortable with my hands-free leash, using it with my girls. And that allows me to just have it clipped around me. So if I drop the leash, if they pull and it gets jerked out of my hand, if something happens, they're still attached to me. They can only go so far. And that gives me so much peace of mind. So I communicate with them through the standard leash. The leash that I'm holding here, you can see, is going to be what I am going to use to have those conversations with them, to guide them, and to make sure that's how I am directing my dog's movements. The hands-free leash is literally just peace of mind. Now, if you have a dog that jumps, they could potentially get tangled a little bit in the leashes. So you just have to be careful and mindful of that. You can actually see here, Gemma jumped just a little bit at the end of our walking session the other day because she was tired and she was asking me to pick her up, which was a no-go. So she got a little bit tangled in the hands-free leash. So I actually just put the hands-free leash through the traffic handle of my standard leash, and that kept it up high enough so that even if she turned to kind of bop me to ask to be picked up, she was not getting tangled in it, which worked really well for me. I did not do that with Lucy. Lucy had absolutely no problem walking with the 2 leashes hanging off of her. And that gave me a lot of control because I could hold the standard leash traffic handle. And if I needed to, if I really needed to get her in, the hands-free leash actually had a traffic handle closer to her. So I could grab both of the traffic handles and have both leashes attached to her, communicating with her. Now, the nice thing about this harness that I am using, which I've done videos on before, I cannot say enough good things about this harness, is that it has a clip on the top and on their chest. So I could potentially be attaching one to each place, but I just attached it to the top one because it really is just like a safety measure. It's just there in case something happens and the standard leash is not in my possession for whatever reason. So that gives me a lot of good control, a lot of good communication with my dog, and a lot of peace of mind, especially on our first park walks that we just did, when there were other dogs barking and screaming and shrieking and trying to come over, which my girl totally ignored. I was so proud of her. When people were in our space, I was able to very easily just move them over. And I did not have to worry about anything happening to my girls because they were attached to me in 2 different places or spaces. And the nice thing is if you're out walking with somebody else, I had actually had my mom there, we were walking together. If something happened, I could hand her the standard leash and I could be in control of the hands-free leash. And because I was documenting our first park walks, I actually did hand off my standard leash to her for a minute to hold on to the dog so that I could set up the camera to take content that I was using for some of these videos. So that was really nice that other people can control, but I was still in full control because if my dog decided to bolt, my mother never would have been able to maintain my puppy. She's a strong little girl. And so I liked being able to, have somebody else hold on to her while I was also holding on to her. A lot of peace of mind, a lot of very easy ability to train with them. And I cannot say enough good things for working with 2 leashes. Now, talk to your trainer, talk to the people. I'm not a professional trainer. This just worked really well for us. And I'm hoping that it can work potentially really well for you as well. Be smart if you're going to be using a hands-free leash to make sure that something is safe for you and your dog to do before you do it. But even if you can't do that, if you are walking with somebody, have 2 leashes. by all means, have 2 leashes. Have them hold a standard leash, have you hold a standard leash. They don't do anything but have it over their wrist or in their hand in case something happens and they need to grab onto it for you. They're not communicating with your dog, you are, but there are options. There's lots of things that you can be doing depending on who you are, who you trust, who you're working with. If you're working with 2 people, there's options. Having those 2 leashes in any form, I feel is really, really good depending on what you're doing. So drop your questions down below. Follow along as we continue to drop daily videos to help you navigate the world of dog parenthood to make this your best life with your pup ever. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.